Well, this is different. Welcome to our first ever Sunday Night Youth online. In the 21st century, who says that you can't be together, but in your own houses? When our leadership team met earlier this week, we were brainstorming different ways that we could stay connected, even if we couldn't physically be together. And so we decided to try an online Sunday Night Youth with our small groups, meaning virtually. And so that's what we're going to try tonight. What we'll do first is we'll have our large group time here live on YouTube, and then we'll do small groups through video chat, but we'll share more details about that later. First, we're going to try out large group. Earlier this week, we randomly selected 2 students to participate in our first online Sunday Night Youth game. So what's our first game? For those of you that don't know, I have 2 small children, a 2-year-old son named Micah and a 3-year-old daughter named Leah. And to help them manage not being able to leave the house right now, we've set up a pretty regimented schedule of what we can do all day. And so one of the things that my daughter loves to do is art projects. So she loves to draw and paint and color just about anything. But the challenge is she's 3. And so her drawings aren't the neatest, but she's so excited about her drawings that you don't want to disappoint her by not knowing what it is that she drew. So it turns into a game of Pictionary. So tonight, we're going to see if our 2 contestants are any better at 3-year-old Pictionary than I am. So without further ado, here's Aaron with Cooper Sykes and Elise Schechter for 3-year-old Pictionary. Take it away, Aaron.
3-year-old Pictionary, where I'm going to show you guys 11 different photos from 3-year-olds. Okay. You have to guess what it is, okay?
Okay.
It's pretty easy, pretty simple. If you get it right, you're going to get a good old air horn. I'm actually not even kidding. I have an air horn app right here. So if you get it right, you're going to get a good old... If you get it wrong, you're going to get a sad trombone. Sorry, I gotta keep the corniness going. All right, welcome to 3-year-old Pictionary. All right, first off, what is it? Is it A, a vampire, B, an angry cow, or C, Claire's Sunstrider, master of the Burning Legion? Both of you have to answer.
Does it have to be like first, or do I have to type it, or just?
Nope, you just tell me.
Golly.
An angry cow.
I'm B as well.
Angry cow?
Yeah.
All right, the answer is... Oh no, it's a vampire, guys.
And why?
Obviously. Don't you see it? All right, moving on into number 2. All right, we've got either it is a crow looking for trash to eat, a T-Rex with abnormal stick-like growths on its snout, or C, a yawning deer.
Yawning deer.
I'm gonna go with B.
Okay, let's see what it is. Oh no!
We're terrible.
It is a crow looking for trash to eat. Sorry, guys. It's okay. We're still tied at the game right now. It's still going great. We're going to go with our third one. It's either A, a zombie rabbit, B, a happy bat, or C. This is you, Daddy.
All right, I'm gonna triple down on B. It looks like that that bat thing from Anastasia. Maybe they just watched Anastasia.
Okay. Elise?
C. I'm going with C.
C?
Yes.
It's a happy bat!
Let's go!
So yes, Cooper, you were correct with it being a happy bat. So sorry, Elise. It is not, unfortunately. This is you, Daddy. If it makes you feel better, that's what I chose as well when I first played, but we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Moving on. All right. This is either a three-horned goat, Grand Arc, Lizard King of the North, or C, a dancing gecko.
B.
B?
I don't know if that is, but B.
Maybe they just watched the Geico commercial. I'm gonna go with C.
Okay, all right. And the answer is, it's a dancing gecko. It's mid-J. See it?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, Cooper is leading with 2. Elise, you've got none, but you've got plenty of time to catch up. Moving on into number 4. We have either a friendly centipede, a superhero cat fighting bad guys, or the coronavirus strain.
All right.
Cooper, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go with a friendly centipede.
Okay.
Wait. No, there's no way.
I'm going with
Beach.
A.
Go ahead, Elise. What's your answer?
The friendly centipede. I'm also going.
Friendly centipede. Cooper, you gonna stick with friendly centipede?
Yeah, there's no bad guys.
No bad
No
guys?
bad guys. Keep it with it.
All right. It is
It's
a superhero
What?
cat fighting bad guys.
Bad guy.
Where are the bad guys? Wait, that's unfortunate.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. It's okay. Moving on. We either have a pterodactyl, a dragon who's also a fireman, or a rabbit relaxing in a hammock. Tough decisions here.
I'm gonna say a rabbit relaxing in a hammock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both
C.
of you?
C.
All right, let's see. Oh no, it's a dragon who's also a fireman. Ooh, it's okay, guys. I know, this is tough. Moving on into our next one. We've got some sort of quail, a T-Rex named Scott, or just a plain old duck.
I think yeah, I could see a 3-year-old maybe knowing quail. Let's go with just a plain old duck. I could see a kid saying that.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with T-Rex named Scott.
A T-Rex named Scott. All right, Lisa's going with B, Cooper's going with C. It's just a plain old duck.
Let's go.
Amazing job, Cooper. Elise, you can still win this thing. I believe in you, truly. All right, moving on. We've got either a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle drinking a smoothie, Mommy drinking her coffee, or Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 3. Do 3-year-olds even know what Mission Impossible 3 is? Is that even a children's movie?
This is not a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle drinking a smoothie. I'm very disappointed because that's a very good picture of that. So, hey.
Yeah, I think A.
Elise, did you say you're going with A too?
Yeah.
All right, it is Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 3. I did that on accident. I'm sorry, guys. I definitely just... Wait, is it still presenting?
Yeah, it's still presenting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 3.
Is this a kid's movie? Are we sure it's a kid's movie?
I don't know. I haven't watched it.
All right. Moving on to our next one. We've got either a sun blasting rays of death on unsuspecting beachgoers, a creepy octopus giving a hug, or it's Spider-Man.
It has to be A.
Yeah, I'm with Elise on this one, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. It
Yes.
does, because climate change is real.
Wow.
Real can truly draw. Alright. We've got either a king holding hands with his best friend who's a bee, an alien taking a guy to be probed, or a huge fly whacking a man with a fly swatter.
B.
B?
I'm gonna say A.
A? Alright.
Kind of like a crown. It could be a crown.
It could be a crown.
Yes.
Alright, our answer is... Yikes. It's an alien taking a guy to be probed. Amazing job, Cooper. You're doing great. You know what? You're doing awesome as well.
Thank you.
Alright, we're moving into our last one. We've got either President Donald Trump, a Yeti singing opera, or Batman with a beard.
C.
B.
Both of you said C?
I said B.
B? Okay. Lee says B, Cooper says C. The answer is Batman with a beard. And just like that, our game is now over. Cooper, you have
It was rigged. It was rigged. Cooper knew the answers.
Oh, yes. I don't understand the complaining here. That was a...
You guys did awesome. Thank you so much for playing. Cooper, you won with 6 points. Elise, you still got in there and you still won 1 point. Thank you guys so much for playing. I'm going to go ahead and get us off recording. Do you guys have any last minute comments, questions, concerns, death threats to those who will be watching this?
I would just
Thanks for watching.
say again that I feel certain that Cooper had the answers before. I was cheated on the win.
I deny all rumors. I had no extra knowledge.
All right. Thank you guys for playing.
Okay, so it's clear to me that we're all handling this social distancing differently. Cooper appears to just be pacing around his house to get his exercise in, and Elise appears to be practicing social distancing from her phone camera or microphone. But congratulations to Cooper. He wins points for his small group and our small group competition for this semester. Let's take a look at our leaderboard. Right now in high school, the 12th grade boys are adding to their lead over the rest of the small groups, while in middle school, our 7th grade boys are holding down the lead with 30 points. We're trying out new ways of having fun together, and if you want a chance to compete in one of our games for next week, shoot me an email through the email down below in the description, and we'll randomly select a few more to play in next week's game. Our second game tonight is one that we shared through our Remind text this week. On St. Patrick's Day, we sent out this text, challenging you guys to take a picture with as many of the items as you could find. We had a lot of you guys submit, and here are just a couple of our favorites. But our overall winner was Julia Capolini, who had 145 rolls of toilet paper in her picture. Her mom swears that they didn't stockpile, that it was sales through Costco, but I definitely know who I want to be friends with right now and set up some sort of barter system. The grand prize that will be shipped to Julia's house is a 1-pound bag of Lucky Charms and marshmallows. We figured we'd stay with the leprechaun theme. We'll send out another challenge next week, so if you want a chance to win a prize, make sure you subscribe to our Remind text groups. You can join through the links in the description down below. Okay, so that brings us to this week's lesson. We debated what we were going to do for our lesson this week, but ultimately decided that we should continue with our Easter series, talking about the hope and good news that we share because of Jesus. For one, it allows us to maintain a sense of normalcy in a season of constant change. And also, we believe that the message of Easter has a message of hope to offer us in all seasons of life. And so with that, let's dive in. Last time we met, Dana talked about how Jesus' death and resurrection defeated our separation from God. We talked about the symbolic physical separation that the Israelites had from God with the tabernacle and the temple. That there was a literal curtain that physically separated the Holy of Holies, where God was said to dwell in the Ark of the Covenant, and the rest of the temple. But because of Jesus and his death and resurrection, we no longer have to be separated from God. 3 of the gospel stories talk about the temple curtain being torn when Jesus died, an allusion to Jesus removing the barriers of separation between us and God. Jesus' death and resurrection defeated our separation from God because we couldn't do it ourselves. We all know what it feels like to be defeated, right? To feel like we can't do something right, to feel like no matter how hard we try, it's just not up to us. Right now, my daughter is something of a perfectionist, and she keeps talking and telling us how big she's getting and that she can do everything by herself, and she wants to do everything by herself. But inevitably, she can't always do it. And so when we have to show her the right way to do something or help her, you can see her just kind of entire frame shrink in, and she feels defeated. What about you, though? When was the last time that you felt the pain of defeat? When you didn't pass that test you studied so hard for? When you tried out for the team but you didn't make the cut? When you put yourself out there only to discover your crush didn't like you back? Or when you scrolled through social media to find that your entire friend group was hanging out without you? Now sure, those may not seem like huge things to some of you, but the feelings that come with them are pretty big. The hurt feelings, the disappointment, the loneliness. Defeat brings with it all that and more sometimes. And then there's the other kind of defeat, the kind that we don't talk about and we try to keep secret, the kind that feels bigger and scarier and all the more difficult to handle. Maybe you've tried to stop self-harming. Maybe you wanted to quit partying so hard on the weekends, or maybe you're really struggling with anxiety and fear right now and you feel trapped. Whatever that thing is for you, you can't seem to beat it. You've tried to defeat it, but somehow it keeps defeating you. And maybe all that defeat has left you feeling ashamed or embarrassed, or even like you failed in some way. It's left you wondering, am I always going to feel like this? Will I ever be able to defeat the things that feel like they're defeating me? Well, here's the truth. You're not alone in this feeling. We all have things that we struggle with. We all battle against habits or mistakes we know aren't good for us, things that threaten to defeat us and sins we struggle with. And so if you're feeling defeated by your circumstances or your habits or some bad choices that you just can't seem to stop making, hang in there. Because the good news is for all of us is that there's another way. There's a way to defeat the things that we're struggling with instead of letting them defeat us. During this time of the year, churches all over the world talk about Jesus because he's at the center of the Easter story. Jesus, the Son of God, came to earth to live among us. He is God in human body, living and breathing, and he showed us how to live while he was here. Then Jesus did something amazing for all of us. He willingly died, a really terrible and painful death on the cross to take the punishment and mistake and sins of all of mankind. Why? So that we could be close to God again. Now, if this is new for you, you might be thinking, Easter is about celebrating the death of Jesus? That's weird. Well, that's only one part of the story. We don't celebrate his physical death, but instead we celebrate what Jesus defeated when he died. We celebrate what he chose to do out of love for us. There's a passage in a book of the Bible called Hebrews that I want us to take a look at today. The author actually wrote Hebrews to encourage believers in the early church to keep going and fighting in the face of difficult times. In other words, the author was encouraging them not to be defeated. And here's what the author wrote. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. This comes from Hebrews 12, verse 2. So to encourage these believers who are struggling against feelings of defeat, the writer of Hebrews reminded them of one thing, Jesus and what he did on the cross. When they were fighting to stay focused on their faith or feeling defeated and disappointed or just unsure about what the next step should be, the writers of Hebrews reminded them, and us, to fix our eyes on Jesus. There are a lot of different ways that the church has talked about what Jesus did for us through his death and resurrection. And we talk about this using a big word called atonement. This idea of atonement comes out of the Old Testament. Early in the Old Testament, we're introduced to a practice of animal sacrifice, which I know sounds odd, but it was a symbolic act of penance for all the ways that we mess up, for all that we fail, the ways that we fail to love others, that we act unjustly, or that we go against the will of God. The animal sacrifice symbolically paid the price of the Israelites' mistakes, and God would forgive them. The prophet Isaiah talks about how a new king from the line of David would come to serve, suffer, and die for his people as a sacrifice. Then Jesus comes along. And we see him fulfill this role. In Matthew and Mark's gospel, Jesus even uses the words of Isaiah when he talks about his purpose to serve and give his life for many. One of the ways that the church has talked about the sacrifice is called Christus Victor, and I think it's helpful for us today. The idea of Christus Victor is that Jesus dies in order to defeat the powers of evil like sin and death, in order to free humanity from them. In fact, there's this theologian named Gustav Aulén, and he wrote in his work on this, he said, "The work of Christ is first and foremost a victory over the powers which hold mankind in bondage, sin, death, and the devil." The good news about Easter is that because of Jesus, sin is defeated. That means the struggle is over. The pain and disappointment and shame from the mistakes or choices or circumstances that have weighed you down in the past are gone. They don't have the power to defeat you anymore. Why? Because sin is defeated. And that means that you're free from the hold of it on your life. So what can you do to access that freedom from sin in your life? And I think there's a few things. One, define what's trying to defeat you. Recognize the habits or choices or circumstances that are holding you back or weighing you down. Is it a behavior that you keep going back to that's harmful? A person or relationship that isn't healthy? A secret choice you're making that you don't want anyone to know about? Whatever it is, acknowledge that it's making you feel defeated right now. Step number 2, take a step to defeat it. Once you've defined what's defeating you, you have to take a step towards defeating it. The best place to start is by confessing it to God. Maybe your first place is to ask God to help or to tell him what you're struggling with. Then, maybe you need to set better boundaries with people or things that tempt you towards that struggle. Maybe it's to ask a trusted friend or a small group leader for help to keep walking away from what's defeating you. Maybe it's to ask your small group leader for Bible verses or prayer or to help you through your struggles. Or maybe it's to memorize a verse or listen to a song that helps you remember the freedom that you have in Jesus. Step 3, ask God to help you remember who you are and how he sees you. Sometimes when we're struggling, Victoria says it's the last thing that we feel, but it's our reality. It's who we really are. Ask God to help you remember what's true about you because of Jesus. Ask him to help you remember that you didn't earn your perfect standing before God, and you can't fight to keep it. And then ask him for help to defeat what's holding you down. Remember, because of Jesus, sin is defeated, and that doesn't mean that we won't still be tempted to sin or that we won't struggle with it in our lives, but it does mean that we can take it to Jesus and let him help us defeat it. It means that sin doesn't have the final say in our lives and in our hearts. All of us have messed up, every single one of us, but on Easter we celebrate that because of Jesus, sin is defeated. We just celebrate the freedom that we have because of Jesus. It's a freedom we want each of and every one of you to experience. So in this season of social anxiety and uncertainty, we can be rest assured in the fact that Jesus is victor over all. There's a passage in Romans that says that God can use all things to his good. Notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say that God causes all things. It doesn't say that God will prevent bad things from happening, but it does say that God can make good come from things. Even in the midst of all the uncertainty that's going on right now, there's an opportunity for good in the world to win. There's an opportunity for us to be a light and peace in a dark time. So, as you go to small group, I want you to think about this question. What's one thing in my life that's holding me back? All right, in honor of our first week doing virtual small groups, our closing prayer tonight is going to be from a litany for Zoom meetings that Dana shared with me earlier this week on Facebook. So if you'll bow your heads and I'll pray this prayer for us. O God, who has called us to be together, help us plan and work and cry and laugh virtually in this uncertain time. Bless those who sign on early, for they endure the most awkward silence and the fear of not knowing if anyone else will log on. Bless those who sign on second, for they must interact with that early person or pretend they don't know the meeting has begun. Bless those who mute themselves, for not everyone wants to hear what is playing on their televisions in the background. Bless those who are frozen, for their Wi-Fi is sketchy, and that means they probably aren't able to binge watch their favorite shows. Bless those who share their screen, but forget to unshare it, because we could all stand to keep staring at their desktop background longer than anticipated. Bless those who call in from their phones, for they are without a face, and leave us all in the presence of true mystery. Bless those who gather together in the name of faith or work or play, because whether we are on our couch, at our desk, or in bed, we are still doing our best in this season of the unknown. Amen. Now it's time for us to go into small groups. You can click the link beside your small group in the description down below. Now, you do need to know your graduating class. So seniors, you're class of 2020. Sixth graders, you are class of 2026. That'll take you to a Google Hangout Meet room where you can be on a video call with your small group. All right, have fun in small groups, and we'll talk to you guys later this week.
Hey!